Hi, what's going on? So I want to give you an update on what's going on with the film. On May the 4th, I had an amazing conversation with a guy named Gino Acevedo. Gino was introduced to me by Eric Chang, who I've mentioned on this vlog, I guess, a few times. Totally awesome. And when I talked to Eric about my feature, he said, "Oh, you should meet this guy Gino that I'm working with." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I looked Gino up, and Gino Acevedo is special effects, makeup, visual effects creative director with Weta Effects. I'm saying that because you may have heard of Weta Effects. You probably have heard of Weta Effects. If not, you've surely seen the work that they've done. Let's just say going back to his career, which seems to have started in like the late 80s, starts with Nightmare on Elm Street, 1989, Alien 3 on the Alien Creature Effects crew, Wolf. I'm just picking the ones that I really know kind of stand out, but I'm sure there's tons of really good ones in here that I have not seen. Species, Independence Day, Men in Black, Godzilla, Battlefield Earth, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Sin City, Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, King Kong 2005, 2006, The Host, Night at the Museum, Grindhouse, I guess both of them because Planet Terror and Death Proof are both here. Pirates of the Caribbean, 30 Days of Night. You getting this? You understanding the caliber of person I'm talking about? Prometheus, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, The Hobbit, Iron Man 3, Man of Steel, The Hobbit, The Cure, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, The Hunger Games, Jungle Book, The BFG, Pete's Dragon, Captain America, Brave New World. Okay, so cool. You get the idea. I had a conversation with him, and clips are going to be coming up in a second. I'm going to throw a few in there because I wanted to put the whole video up, but I'm realizing that like I kind of spoke to him about a lot of the different elements of the script and the creature in my script, and I don't want to give up too much, but I want to kind of pull some of the best parts of our conversation, especially when you can kind of see how his mind immediately starts to work with certain projects.
There's something about the man that has this incredible intelligence about it. It's like, when you're looking at it, it's studying you as much as you're studying it. The little cocks of the head, and it's got those eyes that have this kind of such a bizarre thing where it's like depending on the light, you can't really see if it's a pupil or whatever. Sometimes you can't really tell. Is it looking at me or is it looking over there, kind of thing?
Right.
Which is really creepy. And that's one thing I always loved about Alien. I've got Alien back here.
Yeah, totally.
Alien stuff. But that's one thing that Giger loved about designing the creature with no eyes. He said he loved that because it knows where you are all the time, but even though you may not think that he's looking at you, he's looking at you, and I find that really, really creepy.
Yeah,
I think that the minute that it can definitely work both ways. The minute you put eyes on something, it gives it a focal point. But then at the same time, if it doesn't have eyes, and you can sell it to where it has a sense where it's following you and knows where you are. That's another really cool, creepy thing. But even like in shows like with like Last of Us, with the clickers and stuff, they've lost their eyesight and everything, but they're going off of like echolocation, which is why they're clicking and stuff like that. And so they can, as soon as you make a sound, they can pick that up right away.
Yeah.
So this stuff kind of reminds me of it's one of my favorite movies, but John Carpenter's The Thing. You've seen that, right?
Of course.
Yeah. The classic stuff, and it's just it's all practical stuff. But there's a bit of that kind of stuff of these, not so much mantis kind of stuff, but just weird crab-like legs and things that are happening because it's trying to recreate and trying to mimic whatever kind of form it's gotten into. really interesting. But yeah, but it sounds pretty interesting. And I think I think you can definitely do a lot of stuff, practically, especially for the close up shots of a mouth and the mandibles and the things, moving and doing all that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff can be really cool and puppeteered, even with hands. Putting extensions on fingers and stuff of the inside of the mouth to be able to manipulate that to make it look like it's doing stuff. But obviously it won't be looking like fingers, but just to have that kind of mechanical, dexterity of what you can do with your hands to make it look quite cool.
That's so.
Yeah, like the Queen Alien and Aliens. That was all practical. Built by Stan Winston's crew, and that had, I think, it may have had like 4 or 5 puppeteers in that.
Oh, really?
Just moving different parts of the body. But I mean, she was quite. I mean, the Queen was quite big as well. But multiple puppeteers in there.
That was in 2, right?
Sorry,
That was in 2.
Aliens. Yeah, the second
Yeah.
one. Yep.
That's cool.
But another one, you just mentioned the forced perspective stuff. A friend of mine who's an amazing animator and stop motion animator, his name's Randy Cook, who's been around for ages. But he did this film a long time ago called The Gate. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
Yeah, you should look that one up. There's some really, really cool forced perspective stuff in that, which is just mind blowing. And it's like, little creature guys in suits, who look like are supposed to be like little minions. And they would have a thing like where there's a scene where they're grabbing this boy's foot, and trying to pull him back down into a hole. But the leg and the foot and the shoe were oversized, and so it works kind of in both ways. But there's some really cool stuff in that.
So that conversation was amazing. There was actually a point at the very end where I kind of got choked up.
Oh my god, that was crazy. It's so awesome.
It was really just such like a fun conversation with a fellow creative, especially with somebody who has as much set experience as he does. And it just, it really hit me because this has always been a dream of mine to make this happen and to speak to somebody that is so versed and so deep in that world was really just fun and exciting and just totally awesome. The fact that the call was like, 80 minutes was amazing. On that note, he made a really generous offer.
If I can, I'd be happy to do a couple of sketches for you. It'd be kind of fun.
Wow.
And but just something to think about. And but if you were to put together something like that, at least it would help me get a better idea of what you might be looking for you. It'd be kind of fun.
Wow.
And for you, it'd be kind of fun.
Wow.
And
So what did I do? I jumped into the opportunity and I took the next 36 hours to make this cover, then have the creature's evolutionary protocol, which is like all of the MO stuff, like everything that the creature is and what it does and its modus operandi. It's different forms that it takes. There's script excerpts. And then I have these creatures and different things that I like about them, things that I don't like about them. These are polls that I got from Pinterest. And then I have its mammalian physiology and kind of like the elements of what we see there, and then more script excerpts. And then I also have natural precedents for all that stuff because I want all the creature stuff to be very natural, meaning that it could all happen in real life. And that's what I sent to him. And then the next day, he wrote, "This has to be one of the best mood boards I've ever seen. Very inspiring, informative, educational, and disturbing." Yo, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. This guy's worked with James Cameron, David Fincher, Bong Joon-ho, Peter Jackson. I mean, like, that's crazy. That's exactly what I wanted every second that I was working on it. For me now, it's like every single thing that I'm doing is as if I'm being watched by the most impressive people in the industry. And that is semi-delusional. And yeah, I'm semi-delusional. I'm doing my best to stay completely and utterly delusional all the time because that's kind of what it requires in order to make this happen. On that note, I'd like to say that I've been having a lot of conversations with different people. Some conversations where I get on this mic after and I haven't been posting them because I don't know why, I probably should be, but where I'm just like absolutely just letting go. And you do not have some of the conversations I've been having are really ill. People love to sing a certain song about how difficult the industry, how impossible it is, how things don't get made. And then some people are just dicks. And I think that in the past I've listened to them, you know, and it's always cloaked in the idea of reality. It's always the reality is, you know, and it doesn't matter what the reality is. You make your own reality, you know, no matter how difficult this industry is. Every day movies get made. Every day movies get greenlit. Every day all kinds of shit that's totally impossible happens. For real. So who's to say that that's not you? I'm not going to count myself out of any of those things. And to anybody that is making things or doing things and that's watching this, I would encourage you to keep your head on straight. When somebody that you talk to is not saying the things that you want, you can get off that call and feel free to purge that from your head. You're only looking for a very few number of people to say yes. People that do understand what you're doing, people that want to be on board with what you're doing. And that's kind of the mentality that I'm in. But it's hard, man. It's hard hearing from people all the time how difficult things are. But like, that's the case, you know? And for me, it's been really important to kind of stay really positive, delusional, keeping my eyes on the work, keeping my eyes on the prize, keeping my eyes on understanding what it is that I'm trying to get done. And yeah, I would encourage you to do the same thing, to identify what it is that you want and stay after it like a hungry dog, you know? Keep your eyes locked, keep that stare, and just move foot after foot, foot in front of each foot every single day towards your goal. And it will come in the same way that my goal is going to come. So thanks for listening. More updates soon. I hope you enjoyed this, and yo, peace.